Hey, Corey, how are you doing?
Good, great. How are you doing, Garrett? It's good to see you.
Good. Good to see you too. I know we're in this work from home mode at the moment, which is not a terrible thing. We were planning on being together, but I'm glad to have you virtually. It's always good to see your face. And by the way, a great shirt.
Yeah, thank you. Right back at you. It's one of our favorite shirts here at PrinterLogic.
Yeah, well, I wanted to set this up, Corey, for the audience that's attending Octane 20 Live this year. My name is Garrett Helmer. I'm the Senior Vice President of Channels at PrinterLogic, and with me today I have Corey. Corey, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, yeah, my name's Corey Ercanbrack. I'm the Chief Technology Officer at PrinterLogic. And I'm really excited to be here at Octane. This is our first year presenting, and I'm excited about our partnership with Okta.
Yeah, speaking of partnership, we just became an Okta embedded integrated partner, so we'll talk a little bit more about what that means in the context of print servers and Active Directory servers. So we think we have a really fun half an hour of content planned for you. And Corey, did you know that we are part of the same agenda that has the likes of Colin Powell and Amy Poehler?
I never thought about. I never dreamed that I'd be on the same agenda as people like Colin Powell. But I'm. Hey, but there's always a first, right?
I guess the question is, do you think Amy Poehler or Colin Powell will watch our session?
Oh, I don't know how they couldn't. I mean, look at us, right? Like we'll be like the hottest thing on the speaking topic agenda.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's a good chance that at least one of them moonlights as an IT professional that has to deal with print servers. AD.
For sure.
All right. Well, we're not paid comedians, so let's go ahead and get into this content.
All right, let's go. Let's dive right into it. Wait a minute. Before we jump into it, looks like Garrett, you were up late last night editing the slide deck again because we didn't have the slide in there yesterday. Tell us what this is all about.
Yeah, Corey, look, I felt compelled to sneak this slide in there. And if you've noticed, to the audience, we're wearing these T-shirts that have, it's kind of hard to see, but there's a stick figure with a baseball bat or a cricket bat or some implement that he's using to smash a server. Okta approached us recently, before Octane in San Francisco got canceled, unfortunately. They had approached us and asked us to be a co-sponsor of the Rethink Active Directory Smash Room because they have seen our logo and our imagery and because our DNA aligns so nicely in terms of smashing and getting rid of legacy infrastructure. They had asked us to co-sponsor the Smash Room where we were going to bring you, the customers, literally into a room, a plexiglass transparent room with servers, and you're going to have the opportunity to smash these servers to pieces. And we're so sad that we don't get to do this live, but we are also, I just want you to take a moment and visualize yourself walking into this room and going to town on a piece of legacy infrastructure or pieces of legacy infrastructure that have been the bane of your existence as an IT professional. That's, if there's anything that I want to get that I want you to get out of this presentation today, is the fact that you can get rid of print servers and you can have a migration path to get off of Active Directory servers as well.
That's awesome, Garrett. We've been eliminating print servers for a long time. And we've had lots of conversations on the engineering team about destroying print servers and how fun would it be to be able to hop in a cage and just take out all aggression and just smash them. That'd be so much fun. I'm kind of disappointed. Hopefully we'll be able to do this next year.
Next year, for sure.
All right. Well, let's dive into some conversations about print servers. Over this last year, we've really developed a really nice relationship with Okta, and we have some joint enterprise customers that we've been working with that are Okta customers and that have had an objective to migrate off Active Directory. And as we talk with these customers, they woke up and here it is 2020, right? And there might be some IT professionals out there who are saying, well, why migrate off Active Directory? Like, what are those pressures? Well, if you think about it, if you you wake up and you're looking around, all of a sudden you have a lot of cloud applications. So, and you still have some legacy on-prem, but you're starting to see that there's more and more cloud applications in your environment, and there's more and more cloud infrastructure in your environment. You're also starting to look and see that, because of the bring your own device, it's becoming harder and harder to actually lock down systems, and users are now becoming more important, or they're basically the priority of securing over systems anyway. So these three things are really doing a lot of motion in putting a lot of pressure on companies to say, hey, we've got to do something different than what we've done in the past. So we need to migrate, and we need to move to a platform that can manage users, that can manage cloud applications, and can deal with all kinds of devices across the board. And that's what these customers are saying to us.
Hey Corey, that bottom icon by bring your own device, it shows a plethora of end user compute devices. Is that really indicative of the typical enterprise today? Do they have a big mix of different end user compute operating systems?
Absolutely. I think it would be rare to find an enterprise today that has still a single OS that they're supporting. And I think what you'll see is it's also becoming more and more common that the number of devices across the board are starting to swing. So say if I was a predominant Windows shop, all of a sudden I'm starting to look around and I'm starting to see, oh, there's a bunch of Mac stuff in here. Oh, there's a bunch of Chrome OS stuff in here that I have to deal with. It's interesting. We were talking to a large enterprise customer a couple of weeks ago, right? Garrett, you remember this, and they threw out some some numbers to us. And this is a big company. And originally I was thinking they would have a lot of Windows devices, but what they told me is they said, look, we got like 100,000 Mac devices. We got 100,000 Chrome devices, and we have 30,000 Windows devices. And I was a little bit taken back because there's a lot of shift in this, and being able to manage across all those devices is really, really important. So one of the things that these customer reality pressures do is it creates initiatives. And these are specifically what we've been working with a couple customers that we have jointly with Okta, that these customers are coming saying, look, I need to migrate off Active Directory. I need to move to user-based management, and I need to be able to leverage that vast integration library that Okta has to manage all of my cloud applications that I have. But what I need to make sure that you understand is that when I move here, connected applications need to be able to interface with Skim. And we'll talk a little bit about what Skim is in a moment. The second thing is we want it to be able to enable multi-factor authentication, which Okta does a fantastic job. And the third thing that we're seeing is that the customers we're working with are saying, look, we got to migrate users. We got to migrate users out of Active Directory, and we've got to do it in a way that it can happen over time, because I have so many users and there's so many moving parts that there's no way I can flip a switch and just have it happen. These customers we're working with have been migrating users or have like basically a 9 or 12-month plan to do that. Not because Okta can't handle it, it's just because that's how they need to migrate across the board. So
yeah, so the environment of legacy applications is the choke point. I've heard of customers that move to Okta very quickly because they're 100% SaaS applications that have built integrations with Okta. So I think the timeline will vary, but I think what you're saying, and this is a nice segue into what does this have to do with Print, is that there are some typical legacy pieces of infrastructure in an enterprise environment that makes that migration necessary. And so let's get, Corey, if you don't mind, let's get into what in the world does Okta and PrinterLogic do to solve the print infrastructure?
I love it. I love it, because these customers we've been working with, they're actually already in progress of migrating to Okta, and they get all the way down the road, and they're getting now to the endpoint, and they're saying, oh my gosh, what about our print infrastructure? I have a legacy print infrastructure that has an Active Directory in the data center, and my print infrastructure is dependent on that Active Directory because I'm leveraging Windows print servers. And I have Windows print servers across multiple sites. And these Windows print servers use AD to authenticate. And the end users use AD to authenticate. So what do I do about this print infrastructure? I'm committed to moving off Active Directory, but I might not see a way to do it with my existing print infrastructure. So what do I have to do? There's a lot of different options. I could try and move everything to direct IP, but there's a lot of things that also I really like about this infrastructure. So for example, I really like, I don't know if I like it, but I like that I can manually update print drivers and across to I just have to worry about them on the print servers, even though, some of these customers have 3, 4, or even 1,000 print servers. I still can just update those drivers in one place. It's a little bit of an annoying thing, but I'm not updating all of my end devices, either. So I have to deal with how do I update and install those drivers. The other thing that's a little bit nice about this print infrastructure, although it's a pain for me, is that I have GPOs that actually deploy the print queues to each user, and those are specifically tied to Active Directory. So when Active Directory, when the end user logs in, he connects to the domain, and based on the connection to the domain and who he is, a GPO fires off that says, oh, you should map these print queues over to this print server so that you can go ahead and print, right? So I've got to figure out, how do I, in this new world where I don't have Active Directory and GPOs aren't enabled, how do I get printers deployed to customers? And I don't want to have to do it to every end device, for sure. And then lastly, I've done a lot of reading and stuff, and the number one security problem with printing has to deal with people leaving their print jobs on the tray and printing and then forgetting to go get them, or printing and then having to walk over, which it might be a floor away to get it, and by then maybe it's some confidential information. So boy, it would sure be nice to be able to do a secure release print. Those are all things that are impacting my environment, Garrett, and a lot of our customers' environment, saying like, hey, I'm in the middle of this migration, and now I got this print infrastructure that I have Windows print servers, I have GPOs, and I don't have any way to do secure printing. And dang, how do I solve for this problem, right?
Well, I think with our embedded integration with Okta, together we have a way in which our customers, you who are watching this presentation, might have a way to solve some of these problems. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, it's exactly right. If you, for us at PrinterLogic, we love to make our IT professionals the heroes in their organizations, and we love to help guide that. So in order to solve this problem, if you take Okta as your user management and you leverage PrinterLogic, we can make you a hero. Like, we can solve these problems. So let's take a minute and just talk about how we solve these problems. So the first thing that we've done, and this is relatively new. It's been a couple months now that we just launched our integration into Okta. Garrett mentioned we're an Okta Premier partner. We've done a couple really cool things with the Okta integration. For starters, we integrate into Okta and we leverage it for all authentication. So anytime that a user logs into our admin console, or user logs into our portals, or our client logs in, it always authenticates directly against Okta. So it really authenticates based on that user at that moment. And it's one place that it goes and authenticates, and that's against Okta. The other thing that we did is we actually leveraged Skim to be able to provision and to be able to get group information into PrinterLogic to allow you to do some pretty powerful stuff like targeting devices with specific printers based on user or perhaps based on group. And also, any administrative access into our console is all leveraged with this Skim integration, which is hugely powerful for customers because now all I have to do is go to one place and update, and PrinterLogic just gets that update.
Corey, I'm not a super deep technical person, and I would imagine most attendees at Octane 20 Live have some familiarity with the standards within the identity and access management space. But could you maybe do a brief overview of Skim and what that means and why it's important in the context of printing, the printing infrastructure?
Oh, I would love to. It's interesting as we've talked with several customers, we talk a lot about Skim, and Skim stands for Systems for Cross-Domain Identity Management. If you don't know about it, I would highly recommend that you go spend a little bit of time and do research. But at a high level, this is an industry standard. It's an open standard that's been around for several years, and it's really becoming extremely important, especially in the IDP space or in the access management space, because the power that it does is you can write a single integration, and that integration can then be leveraged and used with any application that connects into your IDP. And really what it does is it allows you to, anytime you create a user, so let's just talk about this for just a minute. So say you hire a brand new person. The first thing you most likely do with that person is you create them a user to access IDP. Well, as soon as you create that user in a system like Okta, any application that's using Skim and needs to have any information about that user information in real time gets pushed down to that application for it to consume and use. So once you add that user, and then maybe you assign him different types of groups. So maybe you're hiring a payroll clerk, and so you assign them to the accounting group. Now that information about that user being assigned to that accounting group is also immediately pushed down to that application for being used, which is really, really powerful. The other thing that's really nice too is when it becomes time for deprovisioning. It's always a struggle. Sometimes at PrinterLogic, I have to wear the CIO hat. And when I do, I always worry about when an employee leaves, whether they leave because they have a great opportunity or maybe there's a separation that occurs, So like maybe tomorrow I really need to fire Garrett, And if I do, then all I have to do is go to my IDP, in this case Okta, and as soon as I remove Garrett, at the same time, that information gets shoved down to the application, in this case, PrinterLogic, and all of his user and access from PrinterLogic get removed as well. So it's really, really a nice open standard that's getting used across the board these days.
All right, so Corey, what you're saying is once you fire me, I won't have access to the print infrastructure and I can't print sensitive documents anymore.
That's exactly right, Garrett. We can block you from doing that at the moment that it occurs. Love that. So
awesome. Well, so Corey, we're talking about we're talking about some of these standards that Okta and PrinterLogic leverage in the solution that we've built together. The title of this presentation is Eliminating Print Servers in a Post-AD World. Let's help the customers watching today how that actually happens. How do you eliminate a print server in a post-AD world?
Awesome. Let's walk through just 2 or 3 little steps here to make that happen. So if you remember, the first thing we do is we connect up Okta to PrinterLogic, right? So all that user information and group stuff's flowing through. The next thing that we do is we have the ability to have a little migration tool that helps you go out and collect all the printer, like host names, IP addresses, drivers, profiles off your print servers. We became really, really good at this because we've kind of grown up with the industry when it comes to print infrastructure. We started out with Novell NetWare, and we were able to deploy drivers and profiles across that. Then Windows came into play, and we got really good at being able to migrate that information off NetWare into Windows. And then as TCP/IP or direct IP came into play, we were able to migrate off of Windows print servers these objects directly into our PrinterLogic, and then be able to leverage a centrally managed direct IP platform. Now, this little import tool, all you do is you just install our little agent on your print servers, and you answer a few questions, walk through a quick wizard, and then you go to lunch. When you come back from lunch, you log into the, our PrinterLogic admin console portal, and all of a sudden, not only are all your printer objects and your queues defined, but all of the drivers and profiles related to those are automatically imported and ready now to start being deployed across the direct IP infrastructure. So once
Corey,
you're finished with
is it at that point that I can unplug that print server and walk it down to my local smash room and smash it to pieces?
Geez, Garrett, you got like smash the print server on the brain. Technically, yes.
I do.
But as an IT engineer, I would say not quite yet. Let's make sure that we fully get the whole infrastructure laid out and that everything's automatically running over the direct IP platform before you unplug that. So the next thing I would actually have you do is to take our little printer installer agent, which, by the way, we have agents for every version of OS that you're going to find in your environment, and to deploy those out to those end devices. This is just a really small little agent that's super smart. He has the ability to, communicate back to our PrinterLogic service or our PrinterLogic server, whichever you decide to deploy. And what he does is he just kind of collects who's logged in. He helps with making that authentication directly to Okta. And then, he just helps manage the print flow a little bit on that end-node device. And so, once he gets installed, he'll check in to the service and say, hey, I'm Garrett, and I'm working in the New York office today. What printers should I get? And based on the deployment options you've set up in the admin console, whether you target Garrett on the group or perhaps the location he is based on his IP address range, he will automatically in the background install all the needed printers and drivers that are required for him to actually print in that office while he's there. And so it's really a simple, small agent that's easy to deploy out. Now,
so
we
Corey,
talked a little bit about...
That sounds really interesting. Sorry, Corey, that one quick question. So you're saying that as the user, I don't have to do anything, that agent's doing it all on my behalf. So when I'm in that New York office and there's 3 printers on the floor that I'm on, and when I hit File Print, those 3 printers have already been deployed to my workstation, and I don't have to comb through a list of 100 different printers that I've used in the past. Is that how that works?
That's exactly how that works. It's so easy because all you do as an end user, your experience as an end user is you just go File Print, and you're like, oh, there's the printer already in the list, and you choose Print. And it's even more powerful than that, Garrett. Like, for instance, if you had a standard policy around certain employees or certain groups to only print in black and white, the end user wouldn't even have to worry about that. He just prints, and that simply pushes that print job out, and it automatically forces those profiles and those capabilities right into that print job. So once you leverage,
and that's exactly that. Sorry, one more. Sorry to keep interrupting you, Corey, but this is I want to make sure that the audience understand some of these concepts. And what the customer that was an Okta customer that came to us and said, hey, I need some of this functionality within the context of my users who authenticate to Okta, that they're not the only ones that have been asking for this, but they have a large environment with multi-endpoint OS devices out there, and they need their customers to have their end users to have the most simple, easy to use print experience possible without the headache of back-end infrastructure. So I just want to make it clear that this is a very customer-driven solution that we've worked with Okta to build out.
That's exactly right. Thank you, Garrett. And even to make it even simpler, like with a couple customers that we've been really working closely with who are Okta and PrinterLogic customers, they said, well, what happens if I don't want to, or maybe I don't even know like what rules I need to set up for getting the printers to deploy in the background, and I just want to allow the end users just to kind of take care of it themselves. But man, every time I allow the end users to try and install a print driver or something, it's always a help desk call. So another option that we make it really easy for the end users to do is what we refer to as a self-service portal. And so you can easily update like a floor map of a building, and you can easily expose printers and maybe perhaps the locations of those printers in the floor maps. Then as an end user, if I go to print and that printer's not in the list, all I have to do is hit a website and I see where I'm sitting and I see the closest printer, and all I have to do is click on that printer and say install, and in less than a minute that printer's been added, the driver's been added, and now I can print to it. So we made it super simple. And you know what else we did in all of this process is we completely eliminated the need for GPOs. Like that GPO was something that was still holding me to Active Directory. Well, now there's no need for GPOs any longer, because I can either target based off of users and groups out of Okta, or I can set up self-service for the portal. And we're kind of agnostic across almost every printer out there. Like we've been doing this for so long, it's rare to find a printer that we can't print to using our solution, or at least we can't provide drivers to.
Awesome.
So now ask me that question again, Garrett, the one you did a few minutes ago when you're smash happy.
All right, can I unplug that print server? I'm really eager to just go beat the heck out of it.
That's exactly what you can do now. Now that we have this, now that we're connected into Okta, we've imported all of those printers, we've installed our agent, we're deploying printers, printing's happening over direct IP. You can totally remove those print servers. You can send them to Garrett. We'll post his address here at the end of this. He's going to start a collection. We're going to fill a semi, and then we can start smashing print servers for sure. And what you end up with is you actually now end up with a direct IP printing platform. So the job flow is now, as soon as I, as an end user, say, okay, I want to go print, I print, my printer's there, I click print. And the other really cool thing that we do is now we keep that job absolutely local to the environment, and we send it directly from that end user device over IP to the appropriate printer. We also then collect a little bit of metadata, and we send that metadata back up to the PrinterLogic server. That gives a lot of power to the administrators to monitor, how much printing's happening, who's doing what printing, are you utilizing all your printers in appropriate ways, all sorts of stuff that you can do.
And really when you say, Corey, just to be clear, when you say the PrinterLogic server, you mean a multi-tenanted SaaS platform that's running microservices, similar to the Okta Cloud, right?
Yeah, great question. We actually launched our native built, cloud-based solution back in 2016, but we also provide a on-premise version, which is soon to be a virtual appliance, so that customers who maybe want to control their own thing can, but our SaaS solution is the bomb for sure. And it's the thing that's really cool and works well with Okta. And it's just a service that you sign up for, and in a matter of minutes, you're often building out or importing your printers, rolling out the clients, and you can have this rolled out we've had customers do it in under a week. Made it really simple.
Right.
Oh, one more point I just noticed on this slide I forgot to mention. If you remember, one of the nice to have that these couple customers of ours came to us. They said, "Man, it'd sure be nice if we could do a secure release or a pull print." And we have that capability built in. So we have a little embedded application that you can install on multifunction printers that support that allow an end user that when he actually goes print, he gets a little dialog that says, "Hey, do you want to hold this job or do you want to release it now?" And if he chooses to hold the job, what it does is it actually stores that print job local to that end node device. And then he can just walk over to the printer and he can just quickly do a swipe. And with the swipe, that print job then, that swipe actually logs him in. That print job then is listed as an available job to release. He selects it and he clicks release. And then the job then gets sent from the computer to the printer and gets released and he can collect his job. Makes it super secure.
Great.
So if we look at this, these customers we've been working with their initiatives, we've now completely freed them to continue their migration off of Active Directory. Like, print infrastructure is not a problem. And we delivered on, being able to support Skim. They can fully enable multi-factor authentication since we authenticate against Okta. And we support them migrating users over time. In addition, we also provided that secure release. So we've had super great success with these customers, and we believe that we can help every customer out there who wants to, or even maybe who doesn't want to, eliminate their Active Directory. We can help them with their print infrastructure.
All right. Well, what's the call to action? What do we want the audience here watching today to do?
So it's pretty simple. If you're interested, as I mentioned, we have a full SaaS solution. All you have to do is hit our website, and there's just a quick sign up as a trial. In a matter of about 10 minutes, you'll have an instance that's created for you. We can get a sales engineer on the call with you and help you, or you can walk through a trial and start going after it. It's pretty simple, Garrett.
Well, the other thing that I would ask of the customers watching today is to go to our virtual booth within the Okta 20 or Octane 20 Live platform, and check us out there. You can engage with some virtual staff members and download some collateral. And as Corey mentioned, if you're interested in learning how to eliminate print servers in a post-AD world, you can sign up for a free trial on our website. So thank you to all of you for being here today. Corey and I are going to stick around for Q&A for the next few minutes. And so we're looking forward to some of the questions that you might have. So thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.